David, he refuses to come out. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. This meeting of Public Hospital District Number 4, King County Board of Commissioners is called to order on Thursday, March 3rd, 2016 at the Snoqualmie City Hall Council Chamber, Snoqualmie, Washington. We'll begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance first, so will you please rise with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The clerk will now call the roll.
President Norris?
Here.
Vice President Young?
Here.
Secretary Spikers?
Here.
Commissioner Herron?
Here.
Commissioner Pollard?
Here.
A quorum is present. Our next item of business is approval of the minutes. You have before, the agenda, yes. Approval of the agenda.
I would make a motion to amend the agenda.
How would you like to amend the agenda?
Add number 5, other.
Is this new business?
Under new business, yes.
So it would be 6 under new business, correct?
Yes, it would be a board directive to CEO Roger McCullum.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All in favor? So moved. The agenda is amended.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we have the habit of putting in words that sometimes bias the discussion, like under new business, item 4, it says approving severance agreement. What all other organizations that I know of do is just say severance agreement or consideration of severance agreement, because this is really approving or disapproving of the severance agreement. But by saying just approving the severance agreement, it biases the discussion. We're the only organization I know that casts it that way. So I'd like to just have that changed to consideration of a severance agreement.
Motions need to be phrased in a positive way. So are we going to say that we are approved? That's why it says approving.
It doesn't, they don't have to be, they can just be listed as a severance agreement if you want. But the way the cities do it, it could be something like consideration of, but approving implies
When we vote on it, so we may not approve it.
that's right. It's approving or disapproving is what we're facing.
Well, it's a motion, so a motion to approve.
Well, I won't believe
Wait, David. Who has the floor?
You have the floor.
Okay. We need one person at a time to speak, and I think Commissioner Pollard has already spoke. What do you want to say, David, or Commissioner Spikers?
I think leave it as is. We still have to vote whether it is approved or not. It's just a motion, and it would be a motion for approving if it did pass. If it did not pass, obviously it would be null and void.
your motion fails. You have the choice either way. All right. Well,
I
won't labor the point because of in the interest of time, but I'd like to discuss this with you further.
Okay, in the future. All right. In the future, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then we will move on. Are we ready to vote on the agenda? No other changes? Well, we have voted, but we first had discussion and we changed something. So now we do need to approve that we have added the agenda as amended.
Right. I move the approval of the agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? It passes. Okay, now the next thing that we have is we have a group of minutes to approve. Okay, what I'd like to ask if we are willing to take approval of the minutes, and we have a lot of the minutes here. Is there any objection to considering the minutes as an en bloc, which is all the minutes together? Have we had opportunity to review the minutes?
I've had an opportunity.
I move approval of the minutes listed in block.
Okay.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Are there any corrections or changes to any of the minutes?
Can't do it. No, we can't.
Okay, we did. Oh, we did it. Oh, yeah, we're moving on. Okay. Okay. Surprise. All righty. Okay, next we have, all right, communications is the next thing on the list. Does Rogers, I do have communications. I have communications that came to the board, and I have to find it. And I did, other board members receive the communication from Dr. Chan. Okay. Dr. Chan, I would like to respond. I think I did, and I don't know if you passed my response to you on to those that signed the petition or not. Did you?
I have not.
Okay. Because there were 67 people that sent a letter out and had a petition, and this is my response to the petition. I want to thank you for your letter and for the signatures that were offered in support for Superintendent Roger McCollum. I understand that Superintendent McCollum is very popular with his staff, which is a strong tribute to his people skills and character. There are many skills that are needed in anybody's career. It is my understanding that Superintendent McCollum was hired to be a visionary. It has been a rocky path. However, Superintendent McCollum had a vision that he met and completed with the intent to pave the way for a viable future for Snoqualmie Valley Hospital. They are both past and present King County Hospital District Board members that are proud to have worked with Superintendent McCollum. It would appear there is a need for different management skills to move the hospital district to the next stage. As commissioners, it is our responsibility to make sure the financial and emotional investment of the new hospital results in a viable medical entity that can meet the healthcare needs of our community. This must be done in an uncertain and moving target of healthcare regulations, as well as new technology. The Board of Commissioners values our super staff, and we truly do. The staff, and hope that you and your colleagues will support us as we move forward. And if any of you want to communicate with us directly, we're willing to respond and listen. But our interest is the same as yours, that this hospital district will be viable and will meet the needs of the local community. Thank you. That next order of business will be the committee reports. Minister Spikers, you will be giving us a report on the Finance Committee.
Thank you. We had a record level in total inpatient days, 769. I don't even know how many patients. We only have 25 beds, fine, times 31 days, so you figure out how many empty bed days we had.
24.8 was our average daily census.
Yeah, so we had very few bed days available. The drawback on that is our acute patient intake was low, and we've adjusted accordingly. Some of the emergency staff is not able to actually transition some of these patients into acute care. And what's happened is because we've had such a demand for our swing beds, we've not been able to accommodate some of the requests for acute care. So we will be leaving one bed open at least, I think, until we, at least so we can transition, attempt to get the acute care level that is requested at a level that is at demand. So kudos to the staff on that. And so one of the things, I guess, we had an open board meeting here last Tuesday, just a couple days ago, and we talked about several items. We did have some unrestricted cash decrease last month, and that was due to the bond payment, which for the first year we have to record 2 payments per year, and January was our second payment, I believe. So that's why our unrestricted cash decreased. We don't foresee that happening in the future, except when I guess right now, we went to monthly payments on our bonds, so we won't have that fluctuation anymore. But that, if someone is taking a look at some of the actual documents, you'll find that that is why the decrease. Let's see here. We will be having a reforecast in the budget by the May board meeting, and we'll be looking at upfront versus taking interest financing costs, and looking at specific leases, that kind of thing, to see if there's a value of paying everything up front or continuing with the lease and a finance agreement and paying the interest on the lease. So we'll be looking at that shortly. We have a capital budget change. I think it's a pretty good strategy. We had allocated $30,000 for a new truck, and it was decided that we would better benefit our patients by building out a dialysis-friendly capability in-house, so that the patients didn't have to be shipped off to Puget Sound kidney dialysis and then come back. And we have the same cost no matter if we ship them there and back, ship the patient there and back. So it's less stress on the patient having to move them every other day, or however often they have to have dialysis, some every day. So it is a net $20,000 for the construction because of the plumbing issues and whatnot to do this. But that will come up directly out of the truck allowance. My understanding is the truck might need a transmission or an engine, and that won't be $30,000. It'll probably be either $3,000 for the tranny and $5,000 for the engine, or $8,000 for both. And we could still afford that with the leftover balance of the capital budget allocated to $20,000. So.
And can I make a comment, David?
Yeah.
I'm also on that committee, and one thing that I appreciate is that instead of just coming to the board and saying we need money for this, they took the time to look at the budget, find out where they could adjust the funds, and keep within the budget. So we're not spending an additional $30,000. We've just moved things around in the present budget, and that's what we need to do, and that's what they did, and we really appreciate that. Correct, David?
Yes, that's correct. That is exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So to keep
Yeah.
on budget and finding a way to meet budget. So we did have a net bottom line, and is lower than projected, but my belief is that we're going to be continuing that type of trend, hopefully for the rest of the year, but we'll continue to take a look at that. We looked at all of the operating expenses and why they were at above what our budget was, and biggest reason is we have 24.8 patient days per day in the hospital. So whenever you do that and your budget is meant for 19 patient days and you have 24.8, you're going to have more costs, more people working there to be able to meet the needs of the patients at this. Let's see here. One of the biggest things that I should probably start out with is our annual audit. And I've been a member of the board here for almost, well, I think maybe 10 years. And this is the best audit ever. There's absolutely no
problem.
exceptions, not even a glass of wine that was paid for. That was about 5 years ago. It was a glass of wine paid for, and they thought, well, you shouldn't have really paid for that for someone or something. That was 5 years. We don't even have that. There is absolutely nothing, totally clean. So I'm very happy, and board, I know, will be happy or is happy about that. We're still at about a 67% Medicaid, Medicare, self-pay or no pay, and or 66% combined, I guess, somewhere around there. And that fluctuates. It's pretty high, and it's hard to. We'll be looking at other things down the line to be able to meet the needs of our financial budget, knowing that 67% of our budget or our revenue comes from cost-based reimbursement or no reimbursement at all, where we lose money. So, I mean, that's pretty typical of critical access hospital these days, especially a smaller hospital. All right, let's see what else we did here. We looked at other expenses. And there was some excessive, what we thought was excessive at first, but after we asked about the miscellaneous expenses, there was a one-time WISHA payment dues that was paid in January, and then election payment of about $17,000. So, or basically, if you take those two payments out of the picture, we're pretty darn close to budget, and our other expenses items were pretty close to what we want to have. Let's see here. And we are taking a more careful look at all miscellaneous, all expenses right now. And I think that's kind of the track of the board right now. We actually asked quite a bit about some of the individual expenses. One of the, there's some big payments that were due for settlements and also after construction. We finally paid them off on interest and on the building project. And there was a couple matters that were brought to the attention of the staff concerning some specific expenditures that the board had directed Superintendent McCollum to avoid, but they came up again. And that will be information, that there'll be written documentation of Superintendent McCollum today about one of the items that continues to be paid at public expense that after a directive not to do that. So if there's any other questions, Jared, do you have anything else?
No, are you ready to, do any of the other board members have questions? Yes.
You mentioned
Question
ratio
McCollum.
just for the benefit of the public. Would you tell them what those dues are for?
Yeah, that's the collaborative state, Washington State Collaborative, Small Hospital Collaborative for Rural Hospitals, I believe.
WSHA stands for Washington
State Hospital Association.
Right.
And we have a lot of benefits. We were explained that the benefits of being in this collaborative are greatly outweigh the dues that we pay. And there's a lot of good information that is derived from that specific agency, so that collaborative.
I have
Do-
a couple other questions.
Uh,
First, the other board members.
Thank you, Commissioner Pollard. Does anybody else have a question of Commissioner Spikers in regards to finances?
I have a question regarding the vendor check register that was passed out at the Finance Committee meeting. There are listings here called Garnishment Payable Hospital, where we're paying, apparently, the California State Disbursements Office, Chapter 13 trustee, $150 or so a month, and in another case it's 100 and so on. I don't know what that is. Normally, if somebody's wages are garnishing, that's where you're taking their wages, but this is a payment we're making to the state called garnishment. Can you explain that?
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's a garnishment from someone's wages that goes to either a trustee or of the bankruptcy estate, or
To the child support.
Yeah, it could be child support.
And it goes directly to that.
It could be anything. It could be
So are we the actor garnishing someone's wages?
No, we are not. We have a directive by law. There's an order of a court that directs us to do that, and we have to abide by the court order in order to do that.
So if some of these folks are so hard up that their wages are being garnished, or garnishing, do we look at that and say that that might be an opportunity for charity care or somehow to help these people?
So what's happened is that the typical circumstances, we have an employee who owes child support, and for whatever reason, we've been directed by the court to hold that money back from their paycheck and pay that directly into the state registry.
Okay, thank you. And one final question, Madam Chair, and that is, I see here a listing for swing dead telephone, $90. Does that mean that a person in one of our swing deads has to pay $90 for a telephone to use in the room?
Probably a piece of equipment in the room.
That did not come up individually on a question in our meetings. I'm not sure.
Gene, it does not mean that we're charging $90 for a phone.
Okay.
Probably a piece of equipment we installed in a room. That would be my guess. I'd have to look at
Okay.
it.
All right.
No, it's a translator. It's a translator phone. I can look it up.
Okay, is there,
A piece of equipment we bought. Yeah.
is there any question from any of the other commissioners? Then I believe we need to consider a motion to approve the warrants and payroll taxes. Commissioner Spikers, would you like to
I
move
would
for
make
that?
a motion at this time to approve the payroll vendor warrants and payroll taxes and through Northwest Bank, and the total being $3,355,364.13.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any other discussion about this motion for the warrants?
I approve, yes, the discussion. There are parts of this motion that I agree with and parts that I don't, but because they're all lumped in together, I'm going to vote against this motion.
Okay, we'll now take a vote. All those in favor of approving the warrants and the payroll taxes for January 2016, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no.
No?
The ayes have it, with Commissioner Pollard voting no. And the payroll warrants and payroll taxes are approved. Next on the agenda is Medical Committee will give us a report. Joan Young? Or Emma, whoever decides they're going to do it.
Commissioner Young, I yield to her.
Okay. All right, the staff wellness assessments are being performed this week. That was back in February. As a baseline assessments for program launch April 1st. And,
Can't hear you.
oh, can't hear me? Now you can hear me.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. And we have, the hospital has determined to designate a room for emergency department for acute admissions. The next step will be implementation planning with managers. Also, the launch of the inpatient dialysis services for swing bed patients is still on track for April. That will be a really good process to have on board. Process initiated in January to provide an outcome summary back to EMS services on any patient they deliver to our ED, incredibly well received and valued. Next month, we'll have a process ready to implement sending home Narcan packs for those at risk of opioid, heroin overdose, or with those who live with them in accordance with recently enacted legislation. And down at imaging, we have the installation of the new packs. Digital image storage modules will be completed mid-March. Part of new agreement through collaborative with NovaRad that reduced costs and added features to packs. It's total radiation dose tracking per patient and referral reporting. So any hospital or any medical situation can find out how much total radiation someone has had over a period of time. Any questions from the commission? All right, thank you.
Would you say something about the adult family home that's in planning?
So I was thinking.
What's the current status?
Current status, the adult family home, the lease agreement development meeting February 22nd. And committee, we have, I don't know if we put them out for everyone, we have thanks to Dr. Whitcup and Tom Parker, have established a committee charter with roles and processes completed. And we're hoping it might be a model for other committees.
You're looking at the status, what the status is at the moment.
Question on those.
There's another question. Is there another commissioner that has a question?
No, I was just repeating his question. He wanted to make sure he's aware of what the status on that adult family home. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have another question, Commissioner Pollard?
Yes, I just wonder whether in the medical committee you discussed that plan for dialysis treatment in 2 rooms. That was discussed in the finance committee and then also in the facilities committee. I just wondered was that discussed in the medical committee?
Well, what I said is the launch of the inpatient dialysis services for swing bed is still on track for April.
Okay, thank you. I missed that. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there any other questions of the medical committee? And we'll move on to facilities committee. Commissioner Pollard, are you ready to report?
Yes, we had an excellent meeting on February the 15th. Attended by myself, Tom Parker, Jay Rodney, Steve Daniel, and Valerie Huffman was there as the recorder. Roger McCullum was excused. Kim Woodcock was excused. Scott Mohavik was excused. But even so, we had an excellent discussion. A lot of this is detail work. There are 6 items here. The report is over on the table. Rather than go into these in detail in view of the limited time we have tonight for more important matters, I just want to add that I think that what I just mentioned about the dialysis treatment in 2 of our rooms is going to be a real advantage to the hospital, because right now we've had to take people from a hospital to the dialysis center and wait and then bring them back, and it has been very inefficient. This is going to make a major improvement. Other notable things are that the facilities committee will be open to the public starting with the March meeting, and as will be noticed in public. Anybody will be welcome to come. May not be very interesting to you, but we want people to know that we have transparency in the committees of the hospital district. We dealt with sign issues like we seem to at every facilities committee meeting, and we're making some interesting progress there. So I just encourage you to pick up a copy. It's well written by Valerie Huffman and quite detailed. And just to save time, Madam Chair, that'd be the conclusion of my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Pollard. Is there any questions of Commissioner Pollard's report for the Facilities Committee? Okay, then we will move on. We now have new business, and I believe we have 3 items. Wait, we have Dr. Whitcock, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Whitcock. You're up. I'm sorry.
Okay. So this is the quarterly report from quality. So if you'll recall, we made a commitment to, instead of coming once a year, starting last fall, we'll be coming every quarter to do a presentation. There's a lot of dynamic work going on in the area of quality, and so keeping you up to date on all of this is going to be really important. So let's just move right on for the sake of time. So I did throw a couple of reminder slides in because this is a new process for you all, so I thought it might be helpful for everybody involved, just to do a quick reminder of how the quality department of the organization is set up. You all, as the Board of Commissioners, obviously at the top, offering governance over the quality processes that happen in the organization. QI steering is a group that provides oversight, and the QI steering is the executive team, representatives from the board are present on the QI steering, and then the QI committee is a group of managers and directors and the QI executive staff that oversees all the project management. And the project management happens in the working groups across the bottom. So those groups are divided up, as you see, into safety, which has to do with the safety of employees and visitors, patient safety, which obviously is patient safety, safe patient handling, which is where employees and patients come together. And so as you're doing lifts and transfers, there's a risk of injury happening to either party. And then all the departmental QI that's going on. So, and again, just a quick reminder of the difference between quality improvement and quality assurance, because both aspects live within the quality department. So quality improvement, I'm going to start over on the right-hand side, is any time that you know where you're at and you know where you want to be and you're working to get to that place. Quality assurance says, I'm already where I want to be, let me make sure I'm staying there. So today we're going to be talking mostly about quality assurance issues. Okay, so quality assurance issues that are externally benchmarked. So for us, the external benchmarking occurs through WISH's Partnership for Patients program, through CMS's MBQIP. I'll tell you what those letters stand for. It's Medicare Beneficiary Quality Improvement Program, but it is much more commonly referred to as MBQIP. So that's almost a word in itself. And then, as you know, we participate with the Western Rural Healthcare Collaborative, it's just the collaborative, and you'll see some of the work that we're doing there. So for WISHA, the Partnership for Patients program, there are 4 main areas that we report in. As healthcare-associated infections, adverse drug events, falls, and pressure ulcers. So what I'm getting ready to show you are the report from January 2016. So the release is from January 2016, and it is reflecting information from the 3rd quarter of 2015. So just to realize that there's some catch-up here. All right, there, do have a light. So I have highlighted for you, because there's a lot of busyness on this slide, and so let me walk you through what you're seeing. So this first slide is urinary tract infections that are associated with a catheter being in place in the bladder. So we have found ourselves over here, and this is actually not where you want to be. So for the third quarter, we did have more bladder infections associated with the catheter than is our desire. So part of the problem there is that we have such a few number of days of patients with a catheter in their bladder, and that's how this is measured. You'll see down here in the bottom, it's the number of infections per 1,000 urinary catheter days. So since we have fewer patient catheter days, even one escalates the ratio, and that's just given the math, but it's not to say it's an excuse. It's something that definitely has caught our attention. Again, remember, I'm showing you quarter 3 information. So we already had hit this the minute we found out about it. We keep track of these numbers. We don't wait for these releases to come out. And there's already been some significant improvements. So the next time I show you this, you'll see that number way back over here where it belongs. So the next report that is through WSHA Partnership for Patients is central line-associated bloodstream infections. So again, you're going to find us right over here, but I'm going to take you up to the very top, and you'll see that there's a star at the top, and that means one patient had an infection. And again, because we have so few, we are really aggressive about getting the lines out as soon as they're not needed. So if you have one patient and a few days, 10 days, suddenly it's a 1 in 10. So again, for us, this number is usually over here in the non-existent category. So we did have one patient. It threw us way over here on the side. And again, you will see this come right back over when you see subsequent months. Again, it doesn't mean we take our eyes off of it. It means this is always very important. These are 3 measures on the same slide, so I'm going to do them one at a time. So the first measure here is adverse drug events in regard to anticoagulants. And again, here is our number. We had 0 adverse events associated with anticoagulants. And that is not to say that we don't have patients on anticoagulants. We probably have 7 to 8 of our 25 inpatients at any one time are on an anticoagulant and being continuously monitored. So that is huge kudos to our pharmacy staff who manages that under a protocol, under a collaborative agreement protocol. The middle report is adverse drug effects in regard to diabetic patients on a blood sugar lowering medication. And the measure here is any patient whose blood sugar was less than 50 over the course of the patient's stay. So as for any of you who are aware of patients who have diabetes, their blood sugars are going to swing a lot. And 50 is not a dangerous number, but it is something that you certainly want to know that is happening. And so here is our number right here. Sorry, there's no highlight on it. And so you see we're still at a very low number. And then the third measure is adverse drug events in regard to when a patient is on a continuous infusion of a pain medication. It's called a PCA. It's where the patient has the opportunity to trigger the administration of medication on demand. And this is a measurement of if you had to introduce any reversal agents while somebody is on that medication, that would indicate your setup was incorrect. And you'll see us right here and at 0, which in fact the story is we didn't have anybody on PCA in the course of time. That was an easier one. This is a measure of inpatient falls with injury. And here is us right here. So again, the star means we did have one patient who fell and had an injury in the process of the fall. That's a really good number considering the number of patients that we have that are high fall risk. A much higher percentage of our patients are fall risk in comparison to other hospitals. So great work is happening under the guidance of the Patient Safety Committee. And then the final measure that's part of the WISHA Partnership for Patients program is advanced stage ulcers, pressure ulcers. And here is us with, and again, 0. And as Joan has reminded us before from her days taking care of long-term care patients at home, we have a patient population at high risk for this. So again, great accolades to our nursing staff and our CNA caregiving staff for complete pressure ulcer prevention in our facility. I'm going to move us forward now to the CMS and BQIP. They are very slow to put reports out, so there's not been any updated information from what I presented to you at the last quarter. So this will come in subsequent presentations. And so the final group of externally benchmarked reports to share with you is from the collaborative. And just a reminder, the collaborative is 13 rural facilities that we work in high collaboration with one another. The tool that we use is a tool called QHI. It's just the name of the product. There are many other hospitals across the country that also use this tool, QHI, and contribute their information to it. So not only can we benchmark ourselves against our 13 hospitals, we can also benchmark against many other people across the country who are submitting their information to QHI. So this is a financial measure. Again, quality is clinical and financial. And so the financial teams of the different hospitals are contributing their information. I'm going to use this slide though to orient you to this presentation or this display because it'll be the case for all the others. This is a 1 year, and the colors represent the quarters. So I'll go to us here. So obviously quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 of 2015. The blue horizontal line, that is the benchmark number for the collaborative, so for the 13 hospitals. And then the upper line is kind of an orange-brown color. That is the collection of all hospitals across the country, similar to us, that are also contributing this information. So for this measure, there are 89 hospitals across the country who are submitting this information. And again, these are similarly sized, also critical access hospitals, so that you truly are keeping an apples-to-apples comparison. And so if I just call out ours here, you will see that Steve and his team have been leading an ongoing decline in our days in AR over the course of 2015 with some very intentional process improvement steps with a leveling here, and then the anticipation is it's going to fall just a little bit more. We already looked at healthcare-associated infections in the Partnership for Patients. You're getting some insight into one of the issues that we often run into, and that is lots of people are wanting the same information, or they're wanting it just a nuanced difference. And so one of the things that we are doing right now is working with several entities across the state to bring together so that everybody's asking the same thing, so that we aren't having to duplicate our energies in the reports. So what I showed you earlier, if you'll recall, was healthcare infections for 1,000 days, and now this is for 100 days. I only bring that out to highlight the frustration in putting all these reports together. And so you'll see here, we already talked about that we had a blip up. That was right around the time we moved into the new facility, and there were some process issues that were resolved, brought it right back down. This is what you saw earlier that was reported on the Partnership for Patients. You're just seeing it in a different way. One other measure that's identified as a measure of quality is the percent of return visits to the emergency department within 72 hours for a same or similar diagnosis. So I'm just going to bring you, here's us right here. So our numbers are doing great. You'll see this blip right here, and that does have an explanation. And this is not a disparaging comment comment at all. It's kind of a statement, just a fact, in that this was the time that there was the encampment, the homeless encampment that was brought onto Highway 18. And so for those folks who came in to see us in the emergency room, we knew they needed follow-up, and getting follow-up for them and having on a schedule was really tough. So our emergency team made a point of having them come back into the emergency room so that we could do good follow-up of their wounds. Or, it wasn't a huge number, but it was enough that you would see the change. So I was really impressed with them for being so thoughtful and proactive about that.
Can I just ask you a question
Yeah,
about that? Is that something that you found really made a difference, and would you continue that again if we were in the same situation again? It sounds like you would.
Have them come back.
Yeah.
And right around that time, we put a process in place to make it even a little easier for them to get them into our hospital clinic. There was just a couple of small barriers that made it hard to coordinate follow-up in the outpatient clinic.
Okay.
And so that we might see that be lower in the future visit.
Okay. Thank you.
But it was not at any significant revenue or expense to do that quick follow-up. But you see it here in these statistics.
Yeah.
And then unassisted patient falls here. Remember when I was showing you the numbers before, and I was saying how good our staff were doing because we have so many of our patients are at such high fall risk. I think you can see displayed here again that same indication of how low our falls are. And now the fall report that I showed you before was falls with injury. So remember, that was a really low number. These are falls, so that has no injury associated, and even that number still remains very low. And you can see how others in our group have sometimes struggling to keep the patients.
I'm going to interrupt again and ask you a question.
Absolutely.
Now, if I understand this correctly, this one, even if a patient gets out of bed without even notifying somebody that they need to get out of bed and they fall, it would be reflected here and not necessarily in the other one. Is that correct, or is that reflected in both?
In the other one, it is if they have injury.
Okay.
So if they fall and are injured, they're not going to be in the other report.
Okay.
If they fall and have no injury, you're going to capture them here.
You're going to capture them there.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
The unassisted part is because it's not unusual at all that as our rehab staff is pushing somebody to reach their limits in their recovery, one of the things you may need to do when they reach exhaustion is assist them to the ground. So we do call that an assisted fall, but we want to make sure that those stay distinct.
Yeah.
All right. This is venous thromboisland prophylaxis and DVT prophylaxis. You can see everybody does quite well in this, and in fact this is in the process of being retired as a measure because everyone's doing so well on it. We actually found a drop off, and we discovered where that is, and there's an immediate recovery for it. And so we're back up now at the 100% where we started from. And last two, and then you'll have endured the whole thing. This is a measure, and this is just added in, and that's why you see that there's no data for the first half of the year anywhere along the way, and some of us began measuring it in the third quarter, and others caught up in the fourth quarter. But this is two measures of when we transfer a patient from our emergency department to another facility. This is assuring that we had an appropriate nurse-to-nurse communication, and when we go to the next slide, it will be an appropriate physician-to-physician communication. And so again, here's where we are, and we went ahead and inserted our second quarter information, and the instructions down here, you can read through it later, but what we had found was while we were doing it, we were not able to prove it. And so it was great learning for us. We now are way up here because we have now found the exact place for it to be located so that we can document that we were having those communications. And you'll see the exact same information right here in regard to physician-to-physician communication. So those numbers are up at 100% now because nicely hardwired it into our process. So we'll continue to monitor it and make sure it stays up at those higher numbers. And I think that is the last slide.
I got a question.
Yeah, please.
Has anyone contacted Whidbey Island to find out why their AR is so low? Why can't we do that?
I don't know the answer, so.
I mean, we're ridiculously high.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting better, but,
We're getting better.
I mean, compared to what, is there, have you thought about Steve?
Yeah.
Just to talk to him and see what we can
It's
do?
not a conversation.
What you're landing on, David, is exactly the reason why we, as a collaborative, everybody has agreed to be transparent and allow our information to be shared at one another's facilities.
Yeah, that's good.
For exactly what you're seeing is when we see who in the group is doing so well, we all go to them and say, teach us what you're doing, show us what's successful for you. And you see it happening in the clinical areas as well.
How much information is being shared with the collaborative?
You just saw the
Yeah.
multitude of slides that
Yeah.
came across, and all of that is shared information.
Okay, so, except for some private.
And we work highly collaboratively with one another, so the only thing that isn't shared is patient information.
Okay.
Protected information is not, but our data, we share best practices on a regular basis. That's part of the charter.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions of the board?
I have a question. And that is, today CDC, the Communicable Diseases Center, issued a report. Maybe you heard about it. And the report was that 700,000 people in this nation experience hospital-acquired infections, HAI. There was some improvement in this report from the last one. But of those 700,000 people who get HAI, 75,000 of them nationwide die as a result of the infection that they got in the hospital. This is something, of course, we have to be very sensitive to. Can you say something about our record there?
Sure.
It's in the
You want to
slide.
put the slides back up so we can go through them all again? So I'll just go through. So you'll see that there were 2 presentations on urinary tract HAIs and bloodstream with central line HAIs. So this is where we talked about our experience with catheter-associated UTI.
What is the number of infections that we experienced?
So right down here, I don't have the exact numbers to show you because these are all normalized with a normalized ratio across the groups.
I sometimes wonder if this isn't being underreported. I know of a case where a patient was transferred from Overlake Hospital to our hospital, and there was an infection, and neither hospital took responsibility for it, and they claimed that the infection must have occurred in the ambulance. How often does that happen?
So I don't know anything about that particular case, but there are very strict definitions of what a hospital-acquired infection is. So in the scenario you just described, in that a patient relocated from one to the other, at the time that the infection is identified, the definition has it encapsulates what had happened in the 48 hours before the diagnosis, and it's wherever they were in those 48 hours gets credit for the infection in regard to the reporting. So we are probably talking about 2 things. One is where it got reported as occurring. It has to get reported to one of those 2 hospitals. It can't be anywhere else. The conversation with the patient about where they may have acquired it, that's a different piece, and that doesn't find its way into the reporting.
Is there
One of those 2
is there such a thing as an ambulance-acquired
There
infection?
is not.
So one or the other of the hospitals has to take accountability for it.
That is correct, and they don't get to argue it. It is defined.
Thank
It
you.
is defined.
Are there any other questions of Dr. Whitcomb? Thank you. That was informative. Our next item to review is the confirmation of committee appointments. We were concerned here only with board committees. This time there are 4 committees, and this is because we didn't formally do this in our January meeting, so we're just clarifying. And I need to ask, before I say this, Facilities Committee. Emma, are you a member of that committee?
Well, I attended one meeting.
Okay, see, and I didn't know. So do you consider yourself a member?
Yes.
You do consider yourself a member. Okay. So this is how we have them listed, and if there's any questions or any objections, then we can discuss that. Commissioners, Finance, Medical, Facilities Committees, these are the ones in our bylaws, so these are the ones we are addressing. Commissioner Spikers is Chair of Finance Committee, and Daryl Norris is the other commissioner on that, member on that committee. Commissioner Young is Chair of the Medical Committee, and Emma Herron is the other commissioner member. Commissioner Pollard is Chair of the Facilities Committee, and Emma Herron is the other commissioner member. And with regard at the Ad Hoc Bylaws Committee, Commissioner Spikers, who is Chair, has yielded to let Daryl Norris be Chair of that committee, and Joan Young is the other commissioner on that committee.
Mr. Spikers will continue though, right, as a member?
No, I will not at this time, but the remaining members will have plenty of opportunity. As you remember, I put in a lot of hard work less than a year ago in trying to make my comments known, and I'm sure we all will have a chance to do so.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion on the committee appointments from the board?
What about the Quality Committee?
The Quality Committee is only quarterly, and I don't know that that's a board committee. It's a hospital committee.
Even so, we used to have a commissioner assigned to that, 1 or 2 commissioners.
We do. Joan Young is on that committee, and I was on that committee.
Okay, so who's on the committee now?
We are. Joan and I
So
are.
the Quality Committee has the 2 of you on
The
it?
Quality Committee, I used to serve, or go to the QI meetings. This is QI steering. It's a different configuration, and it has different activities.
And it's not a board committee. It's not listed in our bylaws.
That's true. I believe that even Mr. Spikers used to be a member of that, or he did attend that.
I did attend Quality Assurance Committee meetings. I did a couple times, just to see where we are in quality, to make sure things were going well. And I was very satisfied with, what was going on, and I trusted the staff and what they were presenting to us.
Okay. It looks like we have minutes here that indicate this was all done in January, and the Quality Improvement Steering Committee has both Joan Young and Daryl Norris listed on it. Okay. So it's already on there. All righty. Is there any other discussion about the committee appointments? All right. We now have Resolution 50. Wait. Oh, that's right. We need to vote in favor of this. Are these, does somebody want to make a motion to confirm?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then it carries as it is. Okay, now we have Resolution 501, surplus equipment. Is there any discussion on this resolution?
I was approached by a member of the community, and they wanted to know more information. I don't know if they got a hold of someone here or not, but they were wondering if any of the equipment was available for the community. And my understanding is that most of the equipment is out of date, would be illegal to actually disperse in the United States. And Steve, you could...
The equipment on this list this time is unusable and not worth it. We've tried to donate it, but it's not worth donating. So
where would someone, who would talk to, who would be the person to talk to in case there was something that was usable for the community.
They can go through me and I'll put them in contact. with
Okay,
the person.
all right.
Okay?
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, now, we are going to have public comment. Oh, oh.
I'd like to move,
Well, no, we're not in action yet.
oh, I see.
We have to take action on this, don't we? But we're gonna discuss the next resolution now.
I don't, is there, what's the next resolution? I don't have it on my list.
It's number 4, it's the approving the severance.
Uh,
Do we
number
not
4.
have to approve this?
Oh, yeah, we do.
We're not in action yet.
Oh,
Yes, we do.
This was just discussion.
okay.
That wasn't my, okay, let me get my,
Right here.
4316. Resolution, thank you. Okay, number 3, all right, number 4, approving the severance agreement, resolution 502316. Is there some discussion?
I actually added a small change. I don't know if anyone else has looked at that.
Right.
Yeah, so just wanted to notify the rest of the board members, I believe, with...
The loose copy is the most recent change that you wanted in there, David.
And yeah, it was at...
It was on the second page, there was another paragraph added, and the original one in your packet provided for a 2-week transition. This provides for a 1-week transition.
Yes, I discussed this and thought about this, and I don't think that anybody could take over with such short notice and not know everything that was going on. So I changed that from a 1-week to a 2-week, and that's obviously something that we can discuss more.
David, it was originally 2 weeks, and then you changed it down to 1 week.
No, I went up to 2 weeks.
So it would be...
Is that what it says on here?
1 week and went up to 2.
It should be the 11th.
What, I can't even remember where this was. Okay, there we go.
Originally it was March 18th,
Okay.
and now it's, and you changed, put it down to the 11th.
I sent you one, though, that said the 18th of March.
Okay.
That was just 2 hours ago.
All right, all right.
That's why I wanted to...
Okay, all right.
So...
Okay, so what do we want to do?
I had
Do we want to
actually-
amend this?
Can you look in your email?
No, just ask him what he wants.
So what do you want?
There was a lot to do this week, and I apologize, I'm very busy, but I looked at that one little, and I changed it around a little bit more.
Okay,
So if you could take a look at that. And
absolutely. And then we should be clear that this will not be signed tonight for a couple reasons. One, under law, Mr. McCollum has 3 weeks, 21 days to review provisions of the release, particularly the Age Discrimination Employment Act release. So there will be some time lag between the approval in concept tonight, or the board can, you can adopt this resolution tonight that would approve the severance agreement, but knowing that there's still some time lag that has to...
Pending, on a contingent on the 21 day. Sure.
Correct.
And did you get in your email?
Well, we can always...
It's kind of important, little part to it, and I sent it about 3:35.
Yep, I got it.
It's really kind of...
I'm sorry. Well, everything was, you know,
I
it's
do
really,
understand.
really tough this week, so we have a lot to do.
Okay, so...
I want to refer to our parliamentarian on what's...
Is it the commissioner's belief that only by reference to this email can we determine what should correctly be in this?
Yes, and we could later, I mean, if we had a printer, we could printed out, but we could orally amend it, whether.
Yes, certainly this can be orally amended, but the question is the changes that are required. It's your sense that only by referring to that email.
Oh, yeah.
email.
Did you hear that, Gene?
That's the one. I'll know if he says it. There are,
Okay, we're going to stand at ease for 2 minutes while they confer. They're conferring on the importance of the changes, Gene, that Commissioner Pollard, that Commissioner Spiker has made to this agreement.
The parliamentarian tried to speak a couple of times, and I could not hear because other people were interfering. What was it that the parliamentarian was saying at the beginning, and then the second comment?
The parliamentarian was asking if it was the commissioner's belief that the changes needed could only be found by referring to email. And Commissioner Spikers indicated that was the case. In other words, it was not possible to orally do it at this moment. So we are now at ease, and the two individuals are conferring, and we'll resume session in a few moments.
I don't have my gun.
That's the only email I have.
Everybody can relax for a few minutes while we get this cleared up. Yes, go use the restroom. We'll take a short break. We're at ease.
Why don't we,
Madam President? Madam President?
let me talk to Ann.
Madam President? Since people tend to be taking a break anyway, why don't we take a 10-minute break and get this straightened out and then come back?
Is there any objection to a 10-minute break? Hearing none, we will take a 10-minute break.
So,
Yeah, and I'm going to get myself organized again.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, where's my minute, my notes?
Not a big deal, but
Okay.
well, this little clause is.
Okay. I guess we're going to extend for another minute. 1 minute.
Be right back. Give me about a minute.
Okay, Commissioner Spikers, will you present Resolution 5023016, approving the severance agreement?
I will. This is, I'm sure a lot of folks came here to listen to, and this resolution is basically a severance agreement and release from the district to Superintendent McCollum. It's part of a lot of work, going back and forth, filled with much emotion and a lot of mixed feelings. And I'd invite any comment on it. I have my own feelings, a lot of my own feelings on this, but and I'm sure the public and employees do too. I'm just going to say that based on what has transpired and what is best for the district, I've always thought about what is best for the district, and decisions that have to be done sometimes aren't easy. If I was to go into the details, I think Mr. McCollum's attorney, who is here today, would probably make some notes about disparagement or something like that to me, and have other grounds to sue the district. So, keeping that in mind, I'm just going to keep it on a level plane. I don't want to have animosity directed to the board or to Mr. McCollum in any way. I want the staff to understand that this is being done for the best interest of the district, which includes the staff, which we adore, and we really, really want to continue to work with the staff. We do not want a disruption in any of the services or any of the employees and being disgruntled or having an issue with this. The board is, I believe, will be making a decision based on a lot of thought, a lot of conviction, and I have a lot of emotion over it myself. If I didn't have such a strong interest in health care of this community and a commitment to work as hard as I can to make this hospital district viable, this may not be happening. And I would like to thank the board who really, really rallied and was, you really got together on this whole issue. And I think we have, maybe for the first time, we may have a collective wisdom that is on the same plane. And whatever the personal reasons are that each of us have, I think that we've been able to put them aside. I would like the board to consider this agreement today, to be presented to Mr. McCollum's attorney, and start a fresh start, to go forward, not backwards, to make sure that the community can trust us, to be transparent, to look at finances accordingly, and to be accountable for all the taxes that they pay and I pay. And I hope that the community will back whatever decision that we do make today. And I thank the board and the staff for helping all of us come to at least this presentation that I'd like every board member to consider. And so if there's any questions about this specifically, most of them probably could be directed to Mr. Rodney, who helped, he basically drafted it, and with some help from all of us, I think. But at this time, I'll turn it over to any questions.
I do have just a process. Have we already amended it? Or
I have none. I'm going to amend the agreement, and it's not the proposed agreement, and it's not a big deal.
What page, David?
Page 2, at the resignation clause, paragraph, the first big paragraph on page 2. The pages aren't labeled, so you have to, at resignation, at D, I meant to have March 18th as the date, effective date. We're looking. Does everyone have that?
What exhibit is it?
Yours is different than mine.
I apologize for leading everyone astray here and confusing everyone. I didn't mean to do that, but I thought that there was one portion. It's not a big portion to put in there. It's not an extra, but it's something that I did want to have in there, and that was to be effective March 18th. And at the end of that paragraph, and the paragraph reads now, district will allow employee to submit a letter stating that he voluntarily resigned his employment with the district effective March 18th, 2016. The remainder of that paragraph is as follows. The employee shall do a two-week transition with the designated interim CEO. Employee understands that all spending authority and decision-making authority shall be terminated effective immediately, and the employee shall cooperate with transition process. So that extra, the last sentence is put on there, employee shall cooperate with transition process. That is what I added, and I changed from 1 week to 2 week in transition time.
Is there any objection to these proposed amendments to this resolution? And the resolution is 502, 50 what? 502-0316. Hearing none, then we will, the amendment is accepted.
And I will circulate a conformed copy.
Okay. We now have resolution 50. Oh, is there any discussion on this? Any discussion? Yes,
Point of
Commissioner Pollard.
clarification. We're going to discuss this now. Will this be introduced at a subsequent board meeting for approval?
No.
If not, so the action will be taken this tonight?
Yes, that is correct.
Let me hear from the chair.
That's correct.
That is correct, Commissioner Pollard. We're introducing them, we'll have discussion, and then we will vote on them.
So this is the introduction. Do we have further discussion when it gets down to the action items?
There would be discussion on the motion.
On the motion.
Yeah.
So we can either discuss now, or we can discuss when it's introduced.
It has been introduced, we will discuss now, and then we'll move on to the next resolution. After we have gone through all the resolutions, we will have public comment, and then we will vote on the resolutions.
Yes, but in that voting period, we still have an opportunity for discussion once the resolution is moved. Is that correct?
Say that again, I'm sorry, Commissioner Pollard.
Well, I'm just asking, is this the end of the discussion, or once the resolution is actually moved, there is another opportunity for discussion, is there not, Mr. Rodney?
When there's, go ahead.
There is opportunity, but we would encourage you to do all the discussion at one. Discuss this one now, the next one now, and then be ready to vote after we've had this discussion.
But to be precise, once it's introduced as a resolution, there is then an opportunity for further discussion.
Yes, that is accurate.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let me, I do have a couple of points, but perhaps other commissioners would like to speak first. If not,
Do any other commissioners want to make any comments? Commissioner Spikers has, Commissioner Herron, or Commissioner Young, do you have anything you want to say about this?
No.
Commissioner Pollard, you have the floor for a
just
moment.
clarification now. The next to last page, item I is confidentiality. It's called confidentiality. And it states that district shall not disclose the terms of this agreement except to its board of directors and appropriate employees, attorneys, insurance carriers, and accountants. All such disclosures shall be on a need-to-know basis. But I think it's good, but we have disclosed it by putting copies of this document out on the table.
Unless required by law, is the last part of that paragraph. This is clearly a public document under the Public Records Act. It's disclosable, and that's one of the I guess unique features of working for a public hospital district is that a lot of employee agreements are subject to public disclosure.
Correct, but do we need to modify that paragraph because it?
No, because the unless required by law phrase covers.
It does cover it.
Yes, indeed.
But it also, a person reading this would wonder whether it's appropriate to discuss this and so forth, because.
If someone seeks this through a public records request, we would provide it. We're not going to put it up on our website, but because this is being discussed in the context of a public meeting, and the Commission's direction has been to provide all documents discussed at a public meeting to the public, we complied with the Commission's directives.
Good. Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure it does comply with the Open Public or the Public Records Act. So, yeah, it does. Okay. With respect to non-disparagement, district and employee agree not to disparage one another or make any representations with the intent of damaging the interest of the other. Isn't that a violation of First Amendment rights?
No, because this, I think, really refers to subsequent employee references that Mr. McCollum might seek from the district in future job prospects. And so this is common. It's a common clause in both public employee contracts as well as private employee contracts. Because this is essentially a without cause termination, there is no basis for any kind of negative job reference that we would provide to a subsequent future employer.
Does that hold each individual commissioner to that non-disparagement clause? For example, if I were to write a letter to the editor criticizing the performance of the superintendent, am I violating the non-disparagement clause? Or if another person cares to do that?
I think factual allegations that are true are always a defense to any type of defamation claim.
Thank you.
May I add something just to that effect? My opening statement was to abide by the spirit of this agreement, and that's what I'm going to do for the sake of this district and the employees and the board to go forward. And that's how I feel about it. But even though I have my own opinions and my own feelings about things.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Pollard?
I don't know whether this or later would be the best time to mention this, but I'm going to vote against this resolution because I believe that both parties were at serious fault. And in cases where both parties bear fault, I think the best thing would be to access the dispute resolution process, which is in the employment agreement, and seek resolution by mediation and, if necessary, binding arbitration. I think that both parties are at fault. It's been a disaster from both sides, and so despite Mr. Spiker's nice words, I think this has been handled poorly by the board, and I think that Mr. Superintendent also bears some responsibility for this mess, if I may say so. Therefore, I'm going to be voting against the resolution.
Is there any other discussion?
I'd like to just make a small comment. I'm the new kid on the block. I'm a newbie. And I will disagree with Mr. Pollard about arbitration mediation because that will take another 9 to 10 months or a year. And the hospital has been going through these issues for so long, since before I even came on board. And you know, there's no stability right now, and we are all in a limbo as to who's going to be directing this hospital. And if we wait for another 10, 12 months trying to look for that leadership, we don't know what's going to happen. The hospital may be, I don't know. And so I think it behooves all of us to really move forward, to think ahead and move to a positive direction and see what we can do to accomplish, you know, the goals of delivering quality health care and keeping our financial health, you know, stable. And if you continue to keep going back and forth, it's going to cost the district more money forever and ever until doomsday. I don't know. And so I disagree with Mr. Pollard. Thank you.
Do any other commissioners, Commissioner Young? I don't have any additional comments other than what I made.
Respond to this?
No, you may not.
May not respond to
You may not respond. You've spoken twice. We're going to move on. We now have Resolution 503-316, the appointment of an interim superintendent. Commissioner Spikers, were you going to also head up that amendment?
I am, and I'm very happy and pleased that, about this resolution, and I hope that'll actually help in the transition to start fresh. My words are very true. I have very deep feelings for this hospital district, for the health care of this community, and yeah, I've had a lot of sleepless nights about this whole process. I take this very seriously. You're talking about people's lives, employment, future, everything, healthcare, taxes, everything that comes into the formula for living in the valley here. And I'm very pleased. And I only hope that the board will consider this resolution and approve it.
I want to make a comment also. This has not been an easy decision for some of us. We all care about the valley, and we care about the health care, we care about the expenses, we care about viability. There's a lot for us to care about, and I think I indicated that in my letter to Dr. Shan. I'm pleased that we can move somebody from the inside up for the time being to help us, and it may be, we don't know where that's going to go, but at least as interim, we know that we have somebody that everybody knows that to make it a comfortable and nice transition. And so I'm pleased that we're able to do that for our staff. I think it's different than having to bring somebody that nobody knows in. So that's my comment. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then we will move on to board director, number 6.
Public comment.
Well, no, we have a number 6 that was adopted earlier.
That was going to be done later, wasn't it?
Well, it could be either place, I believe. I think it could be either place because there's a period of either acceptance or non-acceptance.
So do you want to have discussion of this right now, or do you
Sure,
want?
I would.
Okay.
I would have discussion. The board has come up with, I believe, a series, and now I'm trying to find the, there we go. It is actually a letter that is directed to be handed in person to Superintendent McCollum today with the following corrections to be corrected within 30 days. And it is a directive in writing, and it will be served on him today. And it basically has 6 points that I'd ask the commissioners to discuss if they wish at this point. The number 4 should be the 3 months of 2015. So that's what this was actually drafted before the figures for the finances came out.
Okay.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner
Since
Pollard.
the public has no knowledge of this, and it's fairly short, I wonder if it wouldn't be best if Mr. Spikers were to read the...
I can do that.
I think that's appropriate.
Okay. This letter is to inform you, and it's addressed to Mr. Roger McCollum, that you are in non-compliance with your alleged amended employment agreements. The following must be corrected within 30 days. You have not provided an acceptable plan for transitioning to non-cost-based reimbursement. Number 2, you have missed 3 of the 4 Finance Committee meetings without excused absence. Number 3, you were directed to discontinue TPC membership at November budget meeting, and you have refused. Number 4, you have refused to balance the budget for the last 3 months, 2015 that is. An audit of credit card expenditure shows that you have used the district's credit card for personal expenses not authorized. Number 6, you have made untruthful comments to local newspapers concerning whether the board has directed you to reduce the district's budget 1 week ago.
Point of clarification, Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Pollard?
Some people may not know what TPC means.
That's the private membership golf course here on the ridge.
Is there any discussion? Then we will go on to public comment.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Pollard?
we've had experience in the past where there has not been timekeeping on the public comments.
Yes, I'm aware.
Are you
Okay.
set for that?
I do not.
I can keep time.
I do have a second.
These
You
are
got a second?
3-minute comments, right?
Yes, we would ask that you please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
I'll do the best I can.
Thank you.
So for the record, my name is Scott Scowcroft. You may recall that I stood before you last November to encourage you to be positive and to act with vision. You'll also remember that I shared my background as a grateful family member of a past patient and as a former executive director of the hospital foundation. From the beginning, I've witnessed firsthand a stunning transformation from a hospital that for decades had been in a terrible state of disarray to one that has been designated as among one of the best 20 critical access hospitals in the nation. We all know this transformation from bad to best occurred under the medical excellence of Dr. Whitcomb. But I put it before you tonight that she was not acting alone or in a vacuum, but rather as a member of a very talented team, a team, incidentally, under the skillful and inspired leadership of the current CEO. And just to be clear, the hospital's journey from bad to best occurred these past 12 years during a time that was very difficult. It was not easy. For example, you'll remember that the building of the new hospital just happened to coincide with the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. And yet every time funding for the hospital became problematic, the district was miraculously able to bring it up to come to something that was even better than before. For example, take leisure time properties. I don't know why people don't wail more against the then county executive, and I'll mention his name, Ron Sims, but it was he, after all, who in the spring gave his blessings and then in the fall pulled the rug out from under the good citizens of Snoqualmie Valley by denying the promised change in zoning. But you know what? He who laughs last laughs loudest, because we now, or more accurately you as the Board of Commissioners, have an opportunity when the time is right to designate the use of this precious property, the gateway to Snoqualmie, in the best and highest good. Or you can just sell the property, whatever. How cool is that?
50 seconds.
30 seconds.
50, 5-0.
One mayor.
So it shouldn't, thank you, it shouldn't come as any surprise to you that about my sadness upon reading in the local newspapers about your plans to fire the CEO. Quite frankly, I'm disappointed in you, and not at all, I'm disappointed in you. Not all of you, but you know who I'm talking about. I feel that you've chosen to look backward to settle past petty grievances rather than to look forward with vision and optimism. It is as if last September's retreat never happened.
15 seconds.
So I'll just skip to the end to say that if for some reason you can't stomach the idea of working with Roger, then the decent thing to do would have been to have let his contract run out naturally and to use that extra time to be considered.
Thank you.
Would you please distribute this to the board members?
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Pollard?
I know it's not legally required, but I think it's customary when people get up to state their name and where they live, what city they live in. The party that was just speaking is a resident of West Seattle, as I understand.
Okay, well, We don't require that. We can't ask that. That's up to them. And so I think we'll move on to the next.
So I was going to do that, but the last time I spoke in front of you, Doriel specifically said that that was not necessary.
It's not.
I guess you don't remember customary. Not
Next
customary,
speaker.
not required, that's customary.
Next speaker, please.
I'm Elisa Chen. I'm one of the physicians working for the hospital. Thank you very much, President and Commissioner, for your response to the petition. The reason we submitted, we feel like our voice to be heard and our opinion to be taken into consideration in your decision-making process. And we are in a small hospital. We work together closely, and we have full respect to our leadership team. And they led us well to as we are today and through all the difficulty time. And Mr. McClellan is inseparable part of the leadership team. And we love him, and we have a lot of respect for him. Honestly, we hate to see him go, but above all, we truly care for the hospital. We care for our patients, we care for the quality we provide, and we care for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments?
Yes, I'm Carol Peterson from downtown Snoqualmie. I've been involved in this hospital district since 1975, before we ever formed the hospital district. And I just want to say, I have been very much aware as a member of the public in a lot of the goings on with the hospital, having been a patient there several times, and having been to most of the hospital district meetings over the last 25 years, that I congratulate your board for making this change in the administration of the hospital district. I think it's important at this time. I think it is going to create a new beginning for us, and that I'm hoping the public will get on board with it. I am aware of myself of many things that went wrong in the operations with the CEO, and have felt that this should be coming for a long time. I'll just say that I'm very upset that Mr. Pollard is going to vote no after all the time he has spent talking about this, and in the end voting no on this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carol Waters. It's true I'm a past employee of Snoqualmie Valley Hospital. And I echo to a great deal the statements of Mr. Scowcroft. I also know many of you who sit on this commission tonight, and I want to tell you that I understand you have every right to release anyone you choose to release. But I have to question whether or not we can trust you, that if you're willing to break a contract, how can we trust you not to break other contracts that may have been negotiated on behalf of the hospital district? Everyone here has been faced with a situation that they don't like. But as business people, and I've got 50 years in business, you don't bang a contract. I'm sure Mr. Spiker wouldn't advise one of his clients to do so. And we don't have entirely the right to make decisions based on personal vendettas. So I would encourage you to think about the reputation of the district, and particularly your reputation as commissioners, and the feelings of trust and integrity that comes into question with such arbitrary action. I'd like you to think long and hard about that, because this doesn't go away. And the whole opinion of the commission stands in the balance of whether we feel we can trust you to keep your word.
Can we respond? No. Next speaker. Anybody else?
Hello, My name's Andy Corbett. I've worked at the hospital for 8 years and hope to continue working there for a long time. The thing I've always enjoyed about having Roger as the head of the hospital is that I know he cares about people and I know he cares about the community. And looking at the board, it seems to me that the majority of the board would prefer the hospital was never built. And I take that to the next level. Imagine if the board at Microsoft preferred that a computer had never been built. It's a pretty weird thought. So one thing I would like to say is I was concerned until now that who would be running the hospital, and I would like to say I am happy to hear that Tom will be. I think he's very smart and capable, and I also think he cares about the community as well. But I do find it troubling that you all felt the need to end Roger's contract early, and I hope that there is a change in the next election.
Jim Simons, Snoqualmie. Excuse me. I am pleased to support you, and I trust each and one of you commissioners in this process. There is no reason for any distrust. The record clearly indicates since 2004 that the hospital district has lost approximately $30 million in operating revenues. Now, there is a difference between operations of the district and non-operations. And so I want to make it clear that I am speaking only about operating cost. And that is clearly documented by the state auditor's office and the district's independent auditor. Thank you. And
Are there any other comments? Okay, then we will move on to action items. First thing on our action item is Resolution 501, the surplus equipment. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Motion passes. The next resolution is 50230.
What? Did you miss item 1?
We already did that.
Oh, we did? All right,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So a resolution 5020316, approving the severance agreement.
I move to approve the agreement as amended today by orally, and then subsequently to be amended in writing, a last sentence to be added, and 2-week transition period.
I second.
Is there any discussion?
I'd like to further explain my thinking on this, and that is that I'm one of 5 commissioners, and I believe that I represent more than 20% of the public who find this agreement abominable, a waste of public money, a disgraceful piece of business, and I think that they would want me to vote no on this, that this could have been handled so much better without so much waste of public money. I'm not fixing blame. I think both sides are responsible for this. This is money that should have gone to health care and not to legal expenses and all the other turmoil it's been caused. And so I will be voting no. I might mention with respect to the issue of whether the board keeps its contracts, that the contract for Mr. Superintendent's 3-year extension that occurred in December of 2013 was approved by a previous board. State law said that the superintendent works at the pleasure of the board, but the previous board put this board in a straitjacket and prematurely, 8 months early, forced through a 3-year contract. And it's that contract that we're now having to negotiate. And so it's a complex issue, not quite as simple as some would like. At any rate, I intend to vote no on this because I think that the historians will look at this eventually as a rape of the community.
Is there any other discussion?
Just a quick comment to Commissioner Pollard. So he's voting no because the only other ways, I think, what's done is done, and I could be even partly responsible for this contract to begin with. We want to get into why it was signed and how it was signed. We could get into it for quite a while. I don't really want to bring up past problems, but we've got, we could keep them here with everybody unhappy, the board and Superintendent McCullough, and just have more controversy. We could mediate it and cost another $150,000 or $200,000 to mediate it, or we could say forget it and do it for cause and get sued. So at this point, so there is we're kind of stuck, and I'm trying to I want to go forward and in a positive way. There's got to be a silver lining. I feel like there could be in this case, and we need to shoot for that silver lining and not so focus on the past. Blame me, Mr. Pollard. I'm partly at fault. We're doing our best to go forward, and that's what I feel like we need to do at this point.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I want to make a comment. Prior to me being elected to this board, I've been watching, observing the hospital and all the fiasco that has been going on. And let me just say, here is my comment. I know that, there's a lot of faults here, and we need to move forward. The public knows what's happening and what has happened. My feel here, although one will say they were victimized, another will say, I'd like to say it is a real travesty. And I think the real victim here is the hospital that we were kidnapped, and now we have to pay the ransom. This is my opinion. This is my observation. So I just wanted to make that comment. This was prior to me being on the board, and now that I've seen what's happening, we need to move on. I don't think that we need to prolong this agony for all of us here, so that we can all at least, have some kind of a direction, a leadership, instead of waiting. It's a wait and see. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? I want to make a comment before we vote. I prefer to think of this as a somewhat win-win situation. We have citizens that are unhappy. We are fulfilling the contract. We are not bailing out on the contract, so the contract will be filled. Hopefully, having somebody from the inside step up to the plate, which I think the staff trust. We're not abandoning, that's not the goal, to abandon the staff, but to have somebody that the staff is comfortable and knows, and to then step forward. And I hope the staff and the board can work together to continue to make this, to make it viable, to negotiate the coming future where there's many changes in healthcare, how we do things, and even for small critical care access hospitals. I hope that we could just move forward and do the best we can, all of us, to make it a success. Any other discussion? Then I call for a vote. All those in favor of Resolution 502-316-0316, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
No one opposed. Okay. Moving on, and the motion passes. Moving on, we're going to Resolution 503-0316, appointing an interim superintendent. Is there any discussion? Oh, we have to have a move. Who wants to
I move.
Second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
I just want to second the comments that have been made about the particular person, Tom Parker. He's really an outstanding, he's been running the hospital, frankly, and I expect that to continue with little interruption. So I think we're very lucky that he's willing to stay on, and I look forward to a constructive relationship between the board and the staff through Tom.
I second that.
Is there any further discussion? We will take the vote. All those in favor of Resolution 503-0316, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There's no opposition. The resolution passes. Did we have a 5?
Yeah, we did. We had I would like the board to consider a letter to Roger McCollum concerning the 30-day notice of correction. And
I've got a question.
So,
Oh, okay.
Process-wise, Mr. McCollum is no longer the CEO, the superintendent. So I guess I'm wondering, just logistically, process-wise, I would think that the action of the board on the previous 2 resolutions makes this kind of null and void.
it may be, but I think we need to go through with this, because if he does not accept the agreement, then we may have to take other action. We may be rescinding the agreement and then going forth with his employment and then going to town on letters of correction.
Okay, I have a
Just
question.
clarify for the record.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question. You're giving him 30 days when March 18th is scheduled to be his last day. I'm not sure how that makes 30 days.
Like I said, if he refuses to sign the agreement. Okay?
And he has that option. He does have that option.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'd ask the board, I'd make a motion for the board to sign this and hand it to Mr. McCollum today.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I'm totally confused about these dates and the fact that he's supposed to be released now, and he can come back and refuse the agreement, and yet we're giving him instructions on what he needs to do. I'm sorry, but I'm confused, so I would probably just abstain.
Okay, so do you want clarification, or do you want to
Well,
abstain?
yes, if there can be clarification.
I think there can be. Do you want to do it, David, or do you?
Sure.
Okay.
If, perhaps, I mean, if the agreement stands, he accepts, that's null and void, obviously. But if he does not want to accept the agreement, the board may reconsider the agreement, rescind it, and then go forth with his employment and go forth with the terms of the correction.
Would it be useful on that document that you produced, Mr. Spikers, to say as a concluding sentence that in the event that the superintendent signs this severance agreement, this has no further effect, or this becomes null and void?
That's right.
Would that be useful to put in as a final sentence on your instruction?
I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
All right, so it's amended then. Are we amending this?
I move that amendment, and Mr.
Is
Rodney
there-
can come up with proper words.
Is there any objection to the amendment, to
No.
amending it?
Was there a second? Second. Thank you.
Okay, then it is accepted by unanimous consent,
As amended, I will sign.
as amended. Do we need to vote? Yeah.
But
All right.
we can go on the amendment.
All right, so it's been amended. Are we ready to vote on the amended resolution? And that's the board directive, I guess, to the CEO. It doesn't have a number on it.
Question?
Yes,
I mean, I call for the question.
okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I vote aye.
Okay.
I guess I'm having a little bit of a difficult
Then I'd
time.
ask the members of the commission to sign and then have Mr. Rodney amend and hand it to Mr. McCall today.
Wait, we have a problem. If you, have we voted it? Did we vote for
We
it?
did.
Yeah, okay.
So why didn't that last sentence?
Yeah, are you going to write in the last sentence that we wanted to have,
Jay will do that now.
so that we have that in here? And if possible, I don't know.
Thank you for bringing that.
Will we get copies, are we going to give him the original?
We're going to need to sign it three ways, I guess. I've got one here.
Okay,
You took mine.
all right. So the next scheduled meeting will be Thursday of the regular meeting for the Board of Commissioners will be Thursday, April 7th, 2016, 6:30 p.m., Snoqualmie City Hall, Council Chambers, 38624 Southeast River Street, Snoqualmie. This meeting is adjourned.